Welcome, and thank you for joining us for another webinar where we have owners who are willing to share their experiences. And I'm always excited about our guests, but probably particularly today, we're welcoming back Michael Deck, who was actually on a panel of guests once talking about the seminars that I used to do in Elmhurst. But the reason he is near and dear to my heart, we were just saying, I believe he was my very first huge business-in-a-box purchase. I remember I was so excited. It was maybe just, I don't remember when it was, but I was so excited, and I called my partner at the time, and I'm like, oh, my God, somebody bought it. And poor Mike, I mean, he paid a lot more than you pay today. He didn't even get a manual, I don't think. No webinars, nothing. Today you get on a plane and fly here for less money than he paid, so I feel kind of bad. But
thank you for reminding me.
Pardon me, Mike?
I said thank you for reminding me.
Oops. He's going to want a refund now. Now I'm in trouble. But let's welcome Michael Deck, and he's going to tell you, first of all, a little bit about his company, when he started and where he is today. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. All right, so first of all, Growing Results Cleaning, and as you can see on the screen, you put up there that I started in June of 2011, but I actually would have to back up a little bit because that's when I started doing residential. That's when I connected with Sharon. Before then, about a year previous, that's when I had the idea to start the business, and it actually started as a part-time office cleaning business because I was still working full-time. So I did the business about part-time for roughly a year up until when I connected with Sharon and I started doing residential. She convinced me to do residential, and that's shortly after, that's when I launched full-time and kind of started the business. So currently today, we have 109 repeat clients. We're using 6 full-time cleaners, and they are working in 2 teams of 3. And we do have company cars, and the team leaders get to drive those home at night. We are doing all of our selling either on the phone or online. When we first started, it was pretty much all on the phone, and it seems like as time goes on, I'm going more and more towards online selling, instant booking, things of that nature. But still, a lot of selling on the phone is definitely very effective. We currently have no particular focus on being a green cleaning company. I've definitely looked into it. We have some green cleaning products, but I've yet to find, you know, great green, eco-friendly products to replace, you know, the bleach and the stronger toilet bowl cleaners. The hard water in our area, I just can't find products that'll cut it. So I would go to green, but I just can't seem to find the products that work. And not to mention, it doesn't seem like there's a huge demand for it in my area. It doesn't seem like a lot of people even inquire if we use green products. Right now, we're averaging about 9 cleanings per day. Me and Sharon were just talking about that. That's an average. I mean, we definitely do 10, 11. For example, this week we have 48 cleanings on the schedule, so maybe that's a little bit closer to, you know, 10 cleanings a day. We are paying by the hour, and currently I am the only person operating the office, so it's just me.
Well, good for you. You're doing a good job because 100, as I've said to you before, is key. So you start getting pretty busy when you're running 48 jobs.
Yeah,
so
yeah, I'm busy.
But you're organized. So Mike has a very different background, I think, in doing this. So go a little bit through your background. And again, you straightened out some of this when you started your business. When you were part-time, and if you could talk about this, were you still working when you were doing the part-time commercials? So, if you want to tell us about your background.
Well, yeah, to answer your question, yeah, I was definitely working a full-time job when I started the business. So, just to back way up, I was in the auto body industry. I don't know why. About a year into it, I knew, like, this is not what I want to do the rest of my life. And it took me about another 9 years. So I was in the auto body industry 10 years total. I was a technician. I was a production manager. I was a technician again. But somewhere in between there, I knew that's not what I wanted to do, so I started going to school on the evenings and weekends and tried to get my degree didn't really know what I was going for. I just kind of fell into, you know, business. I just thought it was the broad category. Eventually figured it out, and I'll do something with that. Well, I got my bachelor's degree, and then I still couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. I was just constantly soul searching. I changed my mind probably a dozen times on what I wanted to do. You know, I wanted to be, you know, an accountant. I wanted to be a nurse. I wanted to be a manager, a banker. The list goes on. I just couldn't figure it out, and everything seemed great at first, but then something inside me was just saying that I wanted to work for myself. But I couldn't figure out what that was. So it's kind of funny that the way the story goes is that I got a magazine that just showed up at my door. I don't know if this ever happened to you, but one day you just get the magazine show up at your house. You never ordered it. And it just happened to be Entrepreneur Magazine. And one thing I noticed was there's all these ads in there for franchises. And the thing that stuck out to me was the cleaning franchise. And I think that's when the light bulb went off. And I thought to myself, well, you know, I'm really driven. I don't mind hard work. And I love to clean. I'm like, I could do this, and I don't need a franchise to do it. And so that's kind of what led me to start the cleaning business. So I researched it, I formed the business, and it started from there. So I really had no former experience with running a business, but I just had the confidence that I could do it. I knew I had the work ethic to do it. And I knew I didn't want to work for anybody else. So one thing I forgot to mention was after my bachelor's degree, I started a master's degree program. So I was in the middle of getting my MBA, and I ended up dropping out of that and just starting the business because I felt like if I put all this energy that I'm putting towards getting my MBA, I know so we can source the business, you know, I said I know I can make this happen. So that's what I did. So
well, you don't need an MBA to run a business. I mean, an MBA never hurts anybody, but you don't need one to run a business. That's
for sure.
Now, maybe I shouldn't say that I don't have one. Maybe I would have been better if I would have had an MBA. I don't know. Education can never be beat. Now, one part that I'd like you to share is I believe when you decided that you wanted to start a business, you thought the nice thing to do, you already had your part-time, was to share this with your boss and let him know what you were thinking, correct, in like 6 months or a year? Do I remember that right?
Yeah, because I didn't want to keep it a secret. You know, I approached him, and I just wanted to be open and honest because I didn't want to, I knew it was going to take a while, and I didn't want to be hiding everything. You know, I had already purchased the vehicle. I started the company. I started working on my website. I was just trying to put all the pieces together while I was doing it part-time so that when I launched full-time, all this stuff was kind of taken care of, and I kind of already had my name out there. So, yeah, I definitely let him know about it, and I just promised him that it would not affect my daytime hours. I was going to be, cleaning offices on nights and weekends, and, as far as, answering my phone, unfortunately, I couldn't answer my phone during the day, but I would check my voicemail at lunch, call people back, so I just made it happen. So he was cool with it, and it all worked out.
Very good, very good. So you told us why you started one, and then you purchased Business in a Box. What made you do that since you already had the business going?
Well, I felt like, for some reason, I felt like I could figure out the office cleaning on my own. But there was just, residential seemed scary to me. I knew, with the office cleaning, no one was going to be there, and I was very nervous about going into homes where people are, and I just wasn't sure how to approach it. And especially being a guy, I felt like it was, a female-dominated industry, and I wasn't sure how I would be received. So I, of course, like everything else, went to Google to search, and I stumbled upon Sharon, and then she led the way. So she kind of talked me into the residential, and I'm glad that I met her.
Well, thank you. Okay, and I'm glad I met you too. I certainly needed your business back then. So what most people like to know in these interviews is tell us the 5 major keys to your success, because you have done well considering, and you will go through this eventually, that we have to take a chunk of time out of there when you were focusing on commercial.
Right.
So tell us the 5 keys to your success.
All right. Well, this was kind of difficult because there's like so many, so many things you could point your success to. But I would say if I was going to pick 5, I would say, in no particular order, but definitely just selling on the phone or the web is just the way to go. I couldn't imagine it any other way. I mean, I guess there are some successful companies out there that do in-home estimates, but I just think that it's a no-brainer to me, only because I know how much time you invest, driving, just from the commercial end of it, where you have to physically go to the office, walk around, make notes, go back, put together something. It's the same thing with residential, and I spent so much time doing that, and there's so many hours invested in that, and there's no guarantee you're going to even get that client. Now, if you're selling on the phone or web, either way, I mean, there's literally minutes invested in making a sale and scheduling the client. It's so simple, and it's really amazing, and it definitely took, I think if I remember correctly, it took a lot of convincing for you to convince me that selling on the phone was the way to go, and I was very, very hesitant because I think that's definitely one of my weak points. Like, even to this day, I'm more comfortable with it, but I'm not super confident when it comes to selling on the phone. I kind of gravitate towards the web where I could use my email and, but it definitely works. So that's probably is number 1, selling on the phone or web. Just
Mike, I have a question for you with that, and you're right. Now that you remind me of our first conversations, you did not want to sell on the phone. I mean, you thought you were and you're good looking. I've said that a million times, but I haven't got time to be flaunting around showing everybody how good looking you are. No, my question that people might ask is, how is your close ratio? Do you know what your close ratio is?
Unfortunately, I don't. I've thought about that a lot. I really need to crunch those numbers, but I definitely know one thing is for sure is that my closing ratio is better when I sell on the phone as opposed to selling online. And I guess the only thing I could add to that, and like I said, I don't have exact numbers, is that I feel like the web, it might be off a little bit only because I think you're going to get more requests for quotes when you offer quotes online, because just anybody and everybody will request a quote knowing it's just going to be sent to their inbox. They think twice. I think you only get serious people that will call in and want to quote over the phone. So that's definitely something I really should look into. I would say overall my close ratio is probably 50%.
Okay. Yes, I wish you would track those numbers, and you should be, Mike, because I taught you that. But
I know.
Backwards, my question really was more towards, I was wondering if you knew how your close ratio was on the phone, so people who close in the home could make a comparison between phone and home quotes.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Unfortunately, okay. I don't have that number.
Okay. Many of my clients, just so you know, say that their numbers are stronger on the phone than in the home, and that's interesting, very interesting. I would agree with your online number being smaller because you're right, and I mean anybody can ask for a quote, so of course your close ratio is going to really, really narrow, regardless of the fact that you don't have the ability to close.
But either way, with the web is a multi-step process. Yeah, I'm giving them the information via email, but I'm also following up with them via phone. I would never send just a follow-up email. I want to make sure they hear a voice, know that there's a person on the other. It gives them kind of peace of mind to hear a voice, and it gives them that sense of security, I think.
Well, and it also makes sure you don't lose the 71% of prospects down the black hole that seems to be happening with this internet world we're in. Lots of prospects are getting lost.
And we'll probably get into this more later when I kind of flip-flop between residential and commercial, but I've definitely seen it. I was shooting off, quotes, all day long, but I wasn't following up with anybody because I was so busy with commercial. When I finally got back into it and started following up, it's like my sales just, skyrocketed. So you can't just shoot somebody an email and expect them to sign up. Some people will. It's amazing. Some people just respond and say, put me on the books. But other people, you got to follow up with them to get them the schedule. So
I agree with that. I think that your spices come in for free, but I think if you want the meat, you got to go after it. That's the way I feel about that. Okay, company vehicles was your second thing.
Yes,
or one of the things, one of the five.
Yeah, definitely. So this is kind of, there's multiple reasons for this also. One thing is, well, all of our cars are, they're lettered up. They have the graphics and our name and phone number on it. So we definitely get people saying, oh, I've seen you cleaning my neighbor's house. So I feel just that aspect of it pays for the cars because we're definitely getting clients from that. And you could see it because, we'll have, 4 clients on one block. And I know that 2 of those 4 clients just came from seeing that car in their neighbor's driveway. So they already have that sense of trust because their neighbor uses us. And then also, I just feel like it does something mentally for the employees. It gives them a sense of security. And I think they think it's a cool thing that they get to drive the car home. That they see the team leaders drive the car to and from work, and so every member of the team sees that, and it gives something to strive for, I think.
Great. Well, if you Google, and one of my clients told me this because I had never done it, but he said, oh my gosh, Sharon, I Googled the #1 reason why people stay with companies, and it's company cars. Right from the CEO on down, because company CEOs get, the whatever those big cars are, Rolls Royces, so they don't want to leave it either. So apparently it is the #1 driver in keeping people working for you.
Yeah, I think it's the way to go. Because when I first started, obviously I didn't have company cars from the beginning, and so they were driving their own cars. I was reimbursing them for gas. It worked out okay, but there was just so many disadvantages and so many problems, and people not wanting to ride in somebody else's car, and just whatever, and their cars broke down, and they're out of gas, and just the list goes on. There's just nothing but problems with that, and this is just a very dependable system, and there's never really an excuse that there's not a vehicle.
Well, and we're going to talk about recruiting in a little while, but I know it helps the recruiting because people who have to first ask, do you have a car, and that can be 50% of the people who don't have a car that you can't even interview now. You don't even have to ask that question. Or like my friend and I used to say, if they had a car, we probably wouldn't hire them because they were too cotton-picking independent,
Yeah, or, and not to sound, I don't know what the right word is, but do you really want some of these cars parked in your client's driveways?
Yes. When we first started, I didn't even want our own cars parked in their driveways. So, yes, it is an image thing. Yeah. Okay. Now, another thing that you mentioned in the top 5 was core. Thank you.
Definitely, yeah. So just having, for those that don't know, core is Sharon's system for cleaning, and I'm specifically referring to like the DVDs. So there's 5 DVDs, and it's just like a standardized cleaning system. So this way you don't have everybody doing their own thing, or it's not just me going out and demoing it and showing it to them. They can watch the DVD. Everybody watches the same DVD, so everybody's on the same page and everybody's cleaning the same way, so that way the quality or the outcome is consistent. And so I feel like that's really key.
Great. And you also said the visual is positive in training?
Yeah. I just think that having the DVDs and them watching it, I think that most people learn better by, watching it and then doing it instead of me just, verbally explaining it to them. I think it's nice for them to watch the system.
So do you use it the way I kind of taught you to use it, where they watch it in the office and then you go out and watch them and they don't ever watch you clean?
Correct. Yeah, I just have them watch it, and then we start, and then I watch them, and then I just kind of correct, course if they make a mistake, and remind them of, well, this is how they do the DVD.
Good. I like
So,
that for another reason, Mike, because I think it separates you from that cleaner. Because when you're little, part of the problem in becoming visioned as a manager and a leader is to separate yourself from what they do. If they never see you clean, unless you have to step in, they don't immediately think of you as a cleaner like them. They definitely look at you as the leader because you're not in there scrubbing. Whereas I think if they watch you as a cleaner to learn how to do it, they don't have the respect for you that maybe they should naturally have because you're cleaning houses just like them. You know,
yeah.
so it is an image thing. It's that, as I keep saying, you have to be a person of influence, and that's part of it. Good. My second favorite thing next to core, and perhaps my favorite thing, you also put on the list of 5, and lots of people talk about this, the wall chart.
Yeah, it seems simple, and I have to admit this is something that I've definitely like flip-flopped on. You know, there's some times where I slack on it, and there's times where I say I got to get my wall chart going again, and I'm all gung ho about it. And so, but right now I've definitely been using it lately. Not only do I have like the whiteboard, like a physical wall chart, but I also have like, you know, an Excel file. So I update my Excel file daily, and I update my wall chart weekly. And I know you're going to say to update the wall chart daily, but that's just the way I do it. That's what I'm comfortable with, and that's how I do it. But the point is just having that, once again, that visual reminder of, oh crap, I'm behind, I gotta make a sale. And if you don't have that staring you down every day, you kind of lose, at least for me, you know, I don't have that motivation. I mean, yeah, I'm motivated, I want to keep growing, but that number staring at you and saying, oh, the day's coming, you know, I gotta have 110 sales by this date, I better make that happen. Or if you lose a client, you gotta get 2. You know, so I just think that is key, and I definitely see it because there's times where I've slacked off big time, and then I look at my sales, and they're not there. And when the wall chart is there, the sales are there. So I'm convinced that it's so simple, and people, I think, would easily discredit that and say, well, I don't need a wall chart, but I don't know, it works.
Well, I will say this. I bet every single person I've ever interviewed has brought this up as one of their key successes. I have to think, like I just did Adrienne and Carmen last week, and oh my God, they've taken that wall chart to a whole new level. So I
was impressed by that.
Yeah, I like what they're doing with their wall chart. As a matter of fact, I'm going to teach my next class to do that because it's just really a good idea. So let me ask you this as far as cleaner involvement in the wall chart. Like, pretty exciting. You just, as a matter of fact, you emailed me because you hit 100 clients. That's why we're doing this webinar, because I'm like, yes, I hadn't talked to you in quite a while.
Yeah.
Did your cleaners get involved in watching that wall chart hit 100?
No, I know you told me about that before. You know, I am in a home-based office, so where I have my wall chart kind of like in a, you know, an upstairs back room in my house, so it's not really where they would be at. I know we discussed maybe I should put it out in, you know, like the garage or something like that. I haven't done that yet, and I totally see, like, your point on it. I just haven't done it yet. I think it would be cool for them to see it too, to see where we stand and see when we lose a client and see when we gain a couple clients and just see that growth. But I'm not doing it right now. Okay. But I will.
Well, and you should, because I would love to know if you got to 150 faster if the cleaners were involved in it. So rewatch Adrienne and Carmine's webinar because they really do. I mean, their cleaners are so tied into that.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah, I definitely would like to get to that point.
And they did 220 in 4 years.
Yeah.
Perhaps the wall chart is the key, Mike.
well, maybe if I could clone myself.
Okay, and your last one, which is, of course, very important, and I'm not much of an expert on this, so people are going to love to hear this from you. You're talking about online presence.
Yeah, I just feel like, you know, that's the way I shop. I think as business owners, we make a lot of our decisions on how we act as consumers and how we think as consumers, and, you know, that's how I make all my decisions, is I search for stuff online. So I wanted to make sure that I had all my bases covered when it came to you know, having a website and being on all the social media and all the different directories. So I definitely am always conscious to be out there updating. You know, I search for myself. I search for cleaning services. I'm seeing where I pop up. So, and I work really hard to try to get client reviews, because I think, as what are their names, Adrian and Carmine?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they had mentioned that too.
Yes.
You wanna like pre-sell to people. It's like they're ready to sign up. They already know everything about you before they even call you, because they're reading about you. When they search, they find all this different information. They find all these online reviews. So when they call, it's almost not like, oh, can I have a quote? It's, can I get on your schedule? Like they're already pre-sold. So I think that's critical to making sure that you have those good organic search rankings and making it easy for clients to request quotes.
Great. And who takes care of your search rankings? How do you make sure that you are on the top?
Just me constantly updating stuff. I just think that specifically, like, I'm not a big techie person, but I feel like I know enough that it seems like a lot of people, they get a website and then it just sits there. You gotta update it, you know, and you gotta link it to other sites, you know. So just having it could be an endless job, because there's so many directories and so much social media, but you have to be out there updating it and making sure everything, you know, kind of links together.
And you're really doing that yourself, and you have good search rankings, so congratulations.
Yeah, it takes time, but once you get there, then you tend to stay at the top.
Good, good. So I have to ask you, Mike, is your site linked back to, with my seal, back to our site?
The seal is on there. It's in the footer. I'm not sure if it's linked to your site, though, or not.
Because, you know, I have a landing page for your clients now. If they click on that seal, they will land on my landing page that says,
oh,
this is why you want to use Mike's company, because they use Rags to Riches, which teaches this, this, and this. Show up on time, send the same 2 people, and don't break anything.
Right. No, I don't think it is, now that you mentioned that. I think I just, you know, took the logo and put it in the footer. So I'm not sure. I'll have to look into that.
Well, and I'll send you the link. Okay. Okay. Sorry, folks, I didn't mean to get off track there, but it is something you all should know, that if you can, he said, the more links that you can get, the better your site is going to do. And I do have a landing page on my Success Made Easy website that you can link back to the landing page. Okay. Now, major errors, and I'm really big on this. I mean, when I speak, I say the 10 things I did right and the 10 things I did wrong, because we learn from other people's mistakes and hopefully don't repeat them. Mm-hmm. So there were 2 that you felt were pretty major. Let's talk about the first one. And this is huge these days, because I'm reading more and more residential people who are dabbling into the commercial area. I'm getting a lot of phone calls on this. Mike did this, so speak specifically. Okay.
Well, wait, first of all, I want to back up. You mentioned 2. I think I only really listed 1, and it all kind of just revolves around commercial.
Okay.
You know, so as I mentioned before, the way I started this business was definitely commercial, and that was only because by default, I was only available nights and weekends, so I had no choice but to clean office. So if I had to do it all over again, I think that was my only option from a financial standpoint. I couldn't just start a residential cleaning business, because I had a mortgage, I was married, I had kids, and my wife was a stay-at-home mom. So I could not just quit my job and just start a business. You know, I had to do it slow, I had to do it smart, and make that leap. But when I got into both, and, you know, after I met Sharon, I started doing residential, I was still doing commercial, they both were slowly growing. But once they both were growing, I got to that point where I felt like I was working. You know, as business owners, we work a lot anyways. But it's a difference for me, it was a difference of, do you have people clocked in or do you not have people clocked in? Because when I'm just doing residential, you know, they're clocked in whatever, 8 to 6, 9 to 5, or whatever your hours are. But then when you throw commercial on there, well, then they're clocked in every night, they're clocked in on Saturday, they're clocked in on Sunday. So it's like if you have people on the clock and they need something, you have to be available. And I just found myself working, 7 days a week, day and night, and it got really old really fast. So some other things about, I guess, what I didn't like about commercial was that I think I was attracted to the money. And I think that's what a lot of business owners see, right? So say you just started out and maybe you're doing $5,000 a month in residential, and then all of a sudden you get this phone call, you guys clean commercial, and then you find out it's a big building, and you see the dollar signs, and you think, I could double my business overnight because this account's going to be $5,000 a month. And I think that's kind of what happened to me too. I've seen the dollar signs, but at the end of the day, all of it really did was pull all my focus away from residential onto commercial. So the commercial grew, the income grew over there, but then the residential was just lacking. So it was kind of like I didn't really win anything. All I was doing is working more and working longer hours, and I had the same amount of income. Another thing that I disliked about commercial, or the big difference I've seen, at least in my situation, was that I felt like, and still to this day, I feel like I get a better caliber employee or person that wants to work full-time during the day versus part-time at night. It seemed like everybody I hired for a commercial, for whatever reason, it was rare that they were, a decent, I don't want to insult anybody, but I just feel like I get better people that want to work during the day and want to work full-time in teams. So, and the big thing for me was the loss of focus, because when I was all focused on commercial, my residential was just completely stagnant. Like it didn't grow, it barely grew. I was probably just maintaining it. That was it. And so when I finally started getting burnt out, I just made the decision I'm going to get rid of all this commercial work. And, I think I reconnected with Sharon at that time, and she kind of slapped me around a little bit and said, I told you so, and she did. But I had to experience that for myself. It just wasn't the right fit for me. I didn't see it. I didn't have, it was okay, but I just rather work, Monday through Friday during the day, and so that's what I did. I took a big chance, and I pretty much cut my business in half. I got rid of all accounts. I tried to sell some, and then I just committed to residential, so that from that point on, I took all my energy that I was focusing on commercial. Once I applied that to residential and just stayed focused, then, things started growing. Because, and I want to point out that under a lot of focus, I put, saying yes can be a bad thing. So I think as business owners, you get in that survival mode, and you just want income, so you're saying yes to everything. And I think that's what happened to me. So once you get into commercial, you lose even more focus, because it's like, what is going to be your scope of work? Are you going to do salons? Are you going to do restaurants? Are you going to do industrial, office space? What are you going to do? Because I kind of started saying yes to everything, and then every job you got to try to figure it out. With residential, I just, pick up the phone, answer some questions, schedule it, and I'm done. And everything else is figured out. The teams know what to do. There's no trying to figure it out. So it's just, I like the system that I have with residential, and it's going great. And that was my experience with it. So hopefully that answered some questions.
Oh, I'm so glad you shared that, because I can't tell you how many people have called me in the last 2 weeks. And, of course, they start just like you. I don't even know why I'm asking you this, because I know how you feel about it. I got an email this morning from a client who came to the ranch, and same thing. And I'm like, oh, my gosh. This commercial world looks so good because it's so much money.
Right.
But recessions are hard on businesses, too, because businesses close during recessions.
And, a couple other things to add. I never, really lost a big client, but that's definitely one thing you got to think about, too, is that if you lose a residential client, it sucks, but you'll make it up tomorrow. If you lose a $5,000 a month account, okay, not only did you lose all that income, but now that employee has nothing to do. You know, and how fast are you going to be able to make that up? It's going to take you a while to replace that account, so you got to think about that. And once your employees see that once, you know, they're not going to trust, they're not going to have a sense of security at their place of employment if they see you lose an account like that.
There's a lot of money in residential. If you needed to do commercial because there wasn't enough money, like perhaps if you're in a 30,000 population city, you need to do everything. But if if that residential money is there, which it is, I mean, there are companies doing $8, $10, $12 million a year. That's a lot of take-home money. These people are making a couple $1 million a year if they're managing it right. You probably don't need to go to the commercial world because residential is there, and there is nothing like Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 or 8 to 6, no holidays, no weekends. I mean, that is a different world. So I don't want to behoove commercial because obviously there's a lot more billions in commercial than there is in residential.
Yeah.
But I do want people to know if you, and I wrote this to Mike, if you think the grass is greener on the other side of this fence, try fertilizing your own because once Mike came back and fertilized residential, he's doing as well as he did grabbing that money, you know, so.
Exactly, yep. Good way to put it.
So internal client marketing, I know people are going to want, this is a very common question, how do you find your internal client, your cleaner, and how do you find your external client to clean?
Okay, so as far as internal clients, right now this is a struggle for me. I've always used Craigslist, and so it seemed like for whatever reason, a couple of years ago when I would use Craigslist, I would get a lot of responses. But now that I've been on Craigslist regularly, you find it's all the same people that are applying. And so it seems like as time goes on, I'm getting less and less candidates, or at least people I would even consider to call back. So I'm definitely struggling with that. And if somebody was going to ask me, like people bring up sales all the time with business. Well, what are you going to do with sales? I get these calls from, you know, marketing and, you know, our advertising, people trying to tell you that. And I always tell them, like, I don't feel like sales is a problem. Like, if I really hustle, I could have more sales, but I need people, and I need to get them out there and have people to clean it to fulfill the sale. So far, just Craigslist, and then recently I had ordered, you know, Hiring Now, like magnets with our phone number on it for our cars. So
and has that worked?
I've gotten a couple calls on it. I don't think it's been long enough to gauge whether it's effective or not. But that's where we stand right now. So I'm definitely, you know, interested in hearing other avenues for finding employees.
Well, churches, Mike, are you calling the churches? They're such a good source.
No, I have not done that. I should do that.
Well, let's try that first, and then we'll talk. Again, It requires picking up the phone, but it's not as easy as Craigslist. But most people find great. And the car magnet is great. I always tell people to put an 8.5 by 11 sign in their car. This will start working for you. Tell your people to stop at more convenience stores because it's the people who pull in that are using their own cars that are going to call you. You didn't have to do something as fancy as a magnet, and I'm sitting here thinking, if you spent the money on a car magnet to say you're hiring, do people think you hire a lot and have a lot of turnover? Maybe
I wondered about that myself.
That's why I used a piece of, 8.5 by 11 saying now hiring, because if they weren't smart enough to see the number on the car, then I didn't want them anyway. So I have to say is now hiring. But you might want to give that some thought because it probably looks like you're always in a hiring mode and you really don't want that.
Right.
Okay. So thank you so much for sharing all of that. Apparently, one thing I'd like to point out is you started this business on flyers. Your first 20 clients came from flyers.
That is correct. So this is a Sharon Tinberg thing, and she really stressed that. And it seemed kind of like, because I'm just more of, like I alluded to before, I'm more of like an online guy. Like everything I do is like Google search it or whatever. And so this is another thing I was kind of hard-headed about, but I definitely did it, and I spent a lot of time when I first made that launch just driving around doing flyers, and they worked. That's how I got started. So
before you have money, that's a good thing to do.
Yeah, for sure, and they definitely work. We definitely need to get back to doing the flyers more. We've been inconsistent with it. For a while there, we were doing your system of, you know, what do you call it, 5 rounds or 6 rounds? Yeah, 6 rounds. We were doing that, but then, you know, when the winter came, we slacked off. You know, when it's 5 degrees out and there's a foot of snow on the ground. So we should get back to that this spring, though. But the flyers work.
No, Mike, you should get back to it tomorrow because Mother's Day is only 8 days away.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Missing all of those opportunities. You get those flyers out there. I bet you'll make a sale if you get those flyers because you are doing 10 houses a day now, so that's 60 flyers a day. That's 300 a week or 1,200 a month, and there's a repeat sale a month.
I was thinking about doing a flyer contest. I've heard about people doing that. I don't know how to structure that, though.
Well, call me and we'll talk about it.
Okay,
But do a contest. Just get those things out there.
Okay,
so let's talk about your goals for the remainder of the year.
Okay. All right. Well, right now, the main goal is to hit 150 repeat clients by the end of the year, which I believe that we can do that. So if we just stay at the pace we're at, we'll get there. So that would be a really cool goal to hit. So I'm excited about that. We talked about this earlier. I really want to improve, like, my financial tracking. You know, you talked about, or just tracking in general, you talked about what's my close ratio. I don't know the answer to that. I should know the answer to that. So I need to be more focused on my numbers and making better financial decisions. Because, to be honest, that's one of my weak points. It definitely is. Naturally, if we're going to grow to 150, we need a third team. So we're definitely going to be looking into that soon as far as making that move to a third team, which would mean purchasing another vehicle and getting, you know, then we go down to, you know, two-person teams and a 3-person team with the 7th person and grow from there. So that's that plan. And then also I'm going to be getting to the point really soon where I'm going to be kind of maxed out on my office time here. There's some weeks where I'm working a lot more than I should. I got 2 little kids too. I'm working from home, and you know, I definitely spend a lot of time with them. But I think that sometimes I'm working too much at night or on the weekends. So I'll definitely be looking into some kind of help, and I think the natural path would be to, you know, definitely promote somebody from within. You know, I definitely want to stick with that, not, you know, hire outside. So right now there's two girls. I think that either one would be, you know, a good fit to start doing some office work. I don't have an exact date yet, but I definitely want to, you know, get into, you know, renting or leasing, you know, commercial office space. Get out of my home eventually. So that's
you will eventually need to do. You don't need it in the beginning. You were very wise, but yes, I'd say probably at 150 you'll want to be looking at something.
Yeah, for sure.
And that'll change because then you'll be gone from home, and then it's another thing. So it's
yeah. But so it's nice working from home, but you have to be extremely disciplined because there's so many distractions. You know. I mean, my daughter's constantly coming in my room, and it's just, so I definitely could probably get way more done in a lot amount of time if I was at an office versus my home.
It's true. I'm sure that is true. But you do what you do when you need to do it, and this was perfect for you. I do want to tell you to make sure you get that wall chart up and dated because you realize to hit 150 by the end of the year, you have to sell more than 1 a week.
I know. Wow, you're already doing your math. Very
impressive. I already ran those numbers. I'm like, can you do this? Yeah, you can. You need a sale every week and then maybe an extra one every 3 weeks. So you can get it, but you better have that wall chart up. We're going to check back in December and see what your numbers are, Mike, because that would be great growth. Great growth. But you're single focus now. So.
Well, I really feel like if we get to that third team, you know, especially in time for fall, you know, there's no reason why we can't pick up a ton of clients. You know, this upcoming fall.
I added a team every fall. That's how I added my 17 teams, actually. I added a team every fall. So you add them gradually, but you had them all done by December. You had another team up and running by December.
Right.
So, Mike, if you knew then what you know now, I have 3 questions. Would you leave a paying job to start your own business?
Definitely. I wouldn't even flinch about it. It was an easy decision for me only because I didn't like what I was doing. I'm not sure how I'd react if I had a job that I loved with all this vacation time and great pay, but I think at the end of the day, there's something inside of me that just doesn't want to work for somebody else. So definitely, I would start my own business. It's not that I'm not a good worker or work ethic or I can't work with other people. It's just I have that drive that, I think I could do it bigger and better if I'm doing it and making decisions on my own. So that it was the natural path for me to take. So, yeah.
So if you had it to do all over again and you pick a business, would you pick a cleaning service again?
You know what? I think I would. Yeah. Like I said in the beginning, I've always loved to clean. It's kind of a weird thing, being a guy. I love cleaning. Even though now I'm not cleaning, it was just I felt like I was able to figure things out better and make good decisions because it was just natural to me that I'm very particular about things, and so that helped me to, control quality and make sure everybody's doing a good job. So I think it's a good fit for me personally, and yeah, I mean, there's definitely days where it's like, man, it could be rough, It's like you have some really deep, dark days, but at the end of the day, like you said, you have that freedom of owning your own business and being in this industry. I feel like we're doing really well now. We've definitely had our trials and errors where maybe I had some bad employees or whatever. You trial and error, you learn from it, right? Right now, I really like everybody that's working here. We're doing a great job, so we're constantly getting awesome feedback, and so that's just really nice on a daily basis when you follow up with these clients and they just rave about you. It just makes you feel great, so.
Can never get enough kudos. You can't.
I know. It's rewarding.
I'm going to throw something in here before my last question. We talked about this on the phone. I mean, you're not Bill Gates and you're not, Buffin, but with tons and trillions of dollars. But everybody in life in America talks about the great American dream. Do you think you're living the great American dream?
You know what, I feel like I am. I think there's definitely days where you kind of second guess yourself and you look at other people and think, oh, they're more successful for you, or you watch a Sharon Tinberg seminar and then you have somebody on there that's got 300 clients in 2 years. You're like, but at the end of the day, I feel like I'm doing well. Everything's headed in the right direction. I'm happy with the growth, and we're just growing at a nice, slow, steady pace. Everything's under control, and I'm just really happy with where I'm at, and I just love that sense of freedom. Yeah, I got to work a lot of hours and stuff like that, but then there's days where, I could do what I want to do, and that's really cool, So I love what I'm doing right now.
Very good. Well, the statement you just made that there are days when you can do what you want to do is the great American dream.
Yeah, for sure.
And you can't have that if you don't have days where you don't get to do what you want to do.
Right,
that's the price you have to pay. So my last question, and you better say the right answer here, is would you purchase business in a box again? But then say why you would if you either.
At what price, though?
Good question. Good question. The going rate.
Well, really, regardless of cost, it was a very good investment. And I'm just saying that from the bottom of my heart, that was still to this day, it helps guide my business. As you mentioned before, I think you offer even more now than what I got, but just the DVDs and some of the paperwork you gave me, like the employee handbook and, all that stuff just helps me to form a good business model and just to guide my decisions, and it was worth it because, like I said, what led me to start a cleaning service was an ad in a magazine about a cleaning franchise. Well, I definitely looked into these franchises. I looked into commercial and residential, and I don't know if you've looked at them, but the cost of some of these franchises is like astronomical. So when you think about you could get Sharon's business in a box for a fraction of that cost and be independent, and I don't have to pay a franchise ongoing, I feel like she's packaged a franchise for people, but you don't have to pay that ongoing cost. So I think it's a great investment. And so, yeah, if I could do it all over again, I would definitely do it. And probably I would probably listen to you a little bit more than, because there's definitely things where you think, well, there's going to be some things you're going to want to do your own way, and some of them work out and some of them don't. And sometimes you just got to do the trial and error yourself to figure that out, and I feel like that's what I did. But the majority of stuff I listened to, and it's definitely been beneficial.
Good. Now, you were a startup. Let me ask you one last question. If now that you're into it for 4 years, if you would have done this on your own and not bought it, do you think it is helpful to somebody who has been at it for 4 years and maybe only has 40 or 50 clients, which is very typical?
Yeah, definitely, because I would say those are, it makes me feel good, because like when I look at my competition, in my area, I'll see that. I'll see like, oh, well, she started her business and, same year I did. And then you see like, you hear from somebody else that she's only got like, one person working for her. You think, well, man, I must be doing something right. And it kind of always comes back to, well, we have a system. We had business in a box, and I feel like that's really helped to grow our company. So I could see how, that's actually like one of my fears, is that, as you grow, it's almost inevitable that somebody in my area, one of my competitors, is going to buy business in a box, and then they're going to know all my secrets, So yeah.
I'll have my aunt telemarket to your area and tell them all, yeah, you want to do what Mike does?
Yeah. So it's kind of hard to say who would it be more beneficial for. I know it's definitely beneficial for when you're just starting. I would think that your biggest obstacle with somebody that's been doing it for 4 or 5 years is they might be a little bit, hard-headed because they've been doing it this way. Maybe they're doing in-home estimates for 5 or 10 years. I think it's going to be pretty challenging to convince them otherwise. But if they do it, it's business around, that's for sure.
Okay. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time, Mike. It takes a chunk of time, as I keep telling everybody who watches these things, for you guys to do these, so because we prepare it and then we give it. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Congratulations. I am so excited. When you're at 150 in December, we're going to do a quick follow-up, because that's a tremendous growth, and that would say had you not gone away for 9 months, you'd be right where you were supposed to be today.
Yeah, probably.
So,
remind me again.
Do you mind if people call you and ask you questions?
No, that's fine. That's fine. I should have put my email address on there too, but that's fine. They can call me.
And what is your email address?
Well, it's Mike@brilliantresultscleaning.com.
And I'm the one who failed to put it on there, and I should have. Yes, it is Mike@brilliantresultscleaning.com.
Yeah.
So it's not Michael, it's Mike, right?
Right.
Okay. And I will go ahead and put your email address in the newsletter so that if anybody does want to email you, they can, because you've obviously told us you'd rather email than talk. So.
No.
Well, thank you for your time, and you probably will get some calls from people who are playing with this commercial thing, because like I said, it's huge lately, and I'm not boo-hooing commercial at all. And as a matter of fact, if your company is doing $2 or $3 million, you're probably ready to step into that mold because you have a full-time manager to handle the other things.
Yeah, and that's where kind of I was at. I had to make that decision. Well, if I do it for a couple more years, I could get to the point where I'll have people doing it for me, but my kids were young, and I just didn't want to be working, 90 hours a week for the next couple of years to get to that point. So it was a big. Oh, yeah, it's definitely. Yeah.
However, your residential probably grows so much that you then got to ask the question. Still, even if you have managers, you are still a night and weekend person, because if your manager quits, which we know they do, then you're right back into it.
Yep, for sure.
Well, again, thank you, Mike. Like I said, I can't wait to see where you're at in 6-7 months now, but congratulations, you certainly deserve it.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody, for listening, and I look forward to seeing you next time when we speak with another owner about their wonderful experiences.